What if you never had to raise your voice again? Never had to beg, argue, or chase anyone for anything? What if the most powerful thing you could do was nothing at all? This isn't a fantasy. These are 5 documented psychological principles used by negotiators, therapists, and leaders, and most people have never heard of a single one. Think about the last time you tried to convince someone of something. Maybe it was your boss, a friend, someone you loved. You had the right argument, the right words, and yet nothing. They pushed back, got defensive, shut down completely. Here's what nobody tells you. The moment you try to control a conversation, you've already lost it. The most quietly powerful people in any room aren't the loudest. They're the ones who understand how the human mind actually works, and they use that understanding not to force outcomes, but to create the conditions where people naturally move toward them. Today, we're going through 5 of those principles, one by one. And by the end of this video, you'll see every conversation you've ever had completely differently. Let's start with the one that feels the most counterintuitive. Trick number 1: silence, not awkward silence. Strategic silence. Here's what happens in the human brain when a conversation suddenly goes quiet. Anxiety spikes. The mind rushes to fill the gap. And people almost involuntarily start talking. Robert Cialdini documented this. Police interrogators know this. Great therapists use this every single session. The principle is simple. When someone gives you an answer you're not satisfied with, don't respond. Just hold eye contact. Wait. Most people cannot tolerate more than 4 seconds of silence before they start elaborating, backtracking, or revealing something they didn't plan to say. You're not manipulating them. You're simply creating space, and the human need to fill silence does the rest. Try it once in your next important conversation. You won't believe what people volunteer when you just stop talking. But silence is passive. The next technique is something you actively do, and it works because of a flaw built into the human ego. Trick 2: the reverse challenge. Psychologists call it reactance. You probably know it as tell someone they can't do something, and suddenly they desperately want to prove they can. This is hardwired. It's not a character flaw, it's a survival mechanism. Humans are biologically wired to resist perceived limitations on their freedom. So here's how it works in practice. Instead of asking someone to do something, you gently express doubt that they're up for it. You know what? This might actually be too complicated for most people. I'm not sure everyone would be willing to put in that kind of effort. Watch what happens. The person you're talking to almost immediately begins self-motivating. They're not doing it for you anymore, they're doing it to prove something to themselves. Parents use this with children. Great coaches use this with athletes. And the reason it works is because you've taken yourself out of the equation entirely. The motivation is now internal. Now here's where it gets interesting. What if someone is resisting you not because of ego, but because they simply don't trust you yet? That requires a completely different approach. And it's the one that takes the most patience. Trick 3: the foot in the door. Stanford University, psychologists Friedman and Fraser knock on doors in a California neighborhood. They ask homeowners one simple question. Would you put a small 3-inch sign in your window supporting safe driving? Almost everyone said yes. It was a tiny ask. 2 weeks later, they came back and asked something much bigger. Would they allow a massive, ugly billboard to be installed in their front yard? The people who had agreed to the small sign? 76% said yes to the billboard. People who hadn't been asked the first question? Only 17%. This is the foot in the door principle. And it works because of consistency bias, one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. Once we say yes to something small, we unconsciously feel the need to stay consistent with that identity. We become the kind of person who agrees. The application is everywhere. Start small. Get one yes. Then build. Ask for 5 minutes, not an hour. Ask for feedback, not a full commitment. Ask for a small favor and let the psychology of consistency do the work from there. 3 down. And I need you to pay close attention to the next one because it's the one most people use wrong, and when you finally use it right, it changes everything. Trick 4. Mirroring. FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss spent decades talking people down from the edge. And when he wrote his book Never Split the Difference, he revealed that one of his most powerful tools was almost embarrassingly simple. Repeat the last 3 words someone says to you. That's it, not mockingly. Softly, curiously, like you're genuinely interested in what they just said. They say, "I just don't think this is going to work." You say, "Isn't going to work?" And then you wait. What happens next is remarkable. The person almost always expands. They explain themselves further. They reveal what's actually bothering them, the real objection, beneath the surface one. This works because mirroring signals deep attention. It tells the other person's brain, you are being truly heard. And humans will walk through fire for someone who makes them feel genuinely understood. Therapists call it reflective listening. Negotiators call it mirroring. The result is the same: the other person opens up, and you learn things that no amount of clever questioning would have uncovered. Now, everything we've talked about so far works in one-on-one conversations. But the 5th technique? This one works on groups, on audiences, on anyone reading something you've written. It's called anchoring, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Trick 5. Anchoring. In 1974, psychologists Tversky and Kahneman ran an experiment. They spun a wheel in front of people rigged to land on either 10 or 65, and then asked those people to estimate what percentage of African countries were in the United Nations. The people who saw 65 guessed much higher than the people who saw 10. A random, irrelevant number had anchored their perception of reality. This is anchoring bias. And it is everywhere. When a price tag shows $500 crossed out with $199 below it, that's anchoring. When a negotiator opens with a number far higher than they expect to settle for, that's anchoring. When a fundraiser mentions a large donation before asking for yours, anchoring. The first number, the first impression, the first statement in any exchange becomes the reference point that every judgment afterward is measured against. So how do you use this? In any negotiation, open first. Set the range. In any presentation, lead with your strongest point, not your weakest. In any request, frame your ask against something larger, so what you're actually asking for feels reasonable by comparison. You're not lying. You're not tricking anyone. You're simply understanding that the human mind doesn't evaluate things in isolation, it compares. And you're choosing what it compares against. The synthesis. Let's put this all together. Silence creates space, and people fill it with truth. Reactance redirects resistance and turns it into self-motivation. Foot in the door builds consistency and makes bigger yeses easier. Mirroring signals understanding and unlocks what people actually mean. Anchoring frames perception and shapes how decisions feel before they're even made. None of these are tricks in the dark sense of the word. Every one of them is a documented psychological principle. What makes them powerful is also what makes them carry responsibility. They work whether you use them to manipulate or to genuinely connect. The difference between a great leader and a con artist often isn't the tools they use, it's the intention behind them. The people who use these principles best? They're not using them to take from others. They're using them to understand others well enough to actually help. Here's the thing about human behavior. Every person you meet is running on the same hardware, the same cognitive biases, the same emotional needs, the same ancient, hardwired responses to silence, challenge, consistency, and feeling understood. Once you understand the code, you don't need to force anything. You just need to understand people. And that changes everything. If you want to go deeper, the next video covers the psychology of trust, why some people earn it instantly and others never do, and exactly what separates them.